Thank you for joining us today at Miniature Wargaming Labs. Today we are going to put together our Orlock Wrecker from our new Necromunda box set, enhance our Orlock gang. And for this demonstration, we're going to do the second record. So there's Wrecker 1 on the inside, and there's Wrecker 2. So I'm going to build Wrecker 2. I'm not going to do it on the jump stand. Not because I have a problem with the jump stand, it's just this is normally a sub-assembly job. I don't prime it with the jump stand on, so we want to be able to get a cohesive piece. But the first thing we're going to do is get our sprue. And I've already put together the arms masters, so now I'm ready to put together the little guys. And I'm going to put my base right there. And I'm going to get my clippers here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to match up the numbers here. See, we got 30, 34. Correspond that. And I'm going to take the flat side of my clippers, clip those towards the model. That helps prevent a lot of the mushrooming that you get if you cut it this way. That's why we have a flat side. Make sure our clippers are nice and sharp. What we're going to do is we're going to lay them out on the corresponding pieces. Where's 34? There's 34. The reason we do that is so that we don't lose them and we save time instead of going back and forth cutting piece by piece. Now, something I should mention, I'm doing this on a baking tray. The reason is, look at the size of some of these pieces. If they bounce and hit the carpet, these things maintain a lot of energy when they fall, and God knows where they'll bounce. So I have a tray with a lip, and so I cut them in there. If sometimes they still bounce out of the tray, if you're really worried about it, you can put down like a washcloth. That tends to absorb the energy and prevents them from bouncing some more. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep going around this sprue, and we're going to keep cutting out. It's a funny little piece right there. Alright, we're going to keep cutting this guy out and we'll lay him out. Now we have all our bits cut out and we've placed them where they're going to go, so we have all our options put out before us. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start assembling, but before we can assemble, we need to clean these things. So you can see that even though I clipped the sprue gates, there's still little pieces hanging on there, and we've got to get those off because Necromunda models are not tolerant of having excess bits when they fit together. You'll notice that these things are engineered to a high tolerance, so they don't like extra extraneous bits hanging on there. So we used our X-Acto blade and we cut off the sprue gates. Now I'm going to use my file, and I'll also shave off the mold lines. You don't have to do the mold lines, but I noticed that there's a certain spots where they're supposed to come together or other pieces fit on top. The mold lines will actually get in the way of the fit of the model. So we're going to head and clean all those off, and then we'll start putting them back. We'll go one by one, cleaning all the sprue gate nubbins off and the mold lines. Then we'll be ready for gluing. All the bits are cut out and clean, so now I'm ready to start using my plastic glue to put them together. I am going to start with the torso here. So I'll just run a bead of glue around, not too much. I do actually want just a little bit to squeeze out though. That tends to obscure the seam lines. Had them upside down. Alright. There we go. Slippery. There. That's locked into place. Now let's get the other leg on here. So come at you. that into place. Now what we're going to do is going to let that set. Plastic glue starts sticking right away, but you can run into an issue where it'll start wiggling out of place. Alright, so let's dry fit. We'll start on the backpack, do a little dry fit there, see what parts of the plastic are actually touching. That's where I'll put the glue. Okay. Now, these actually look like you can have like a little play and change the angle or have them move at different angles. That's pretty cool. Okay. So just a little drop there. And so there's a circular notch and a semicircular little spot right there. So don't flood it with too much glue so you can feel where that spot is. Okay. And then we'll put a little dab over here. And what we'll do is we'll try to match the cant of the other motor. And I'm thinking this would actually look pretty good on some Imperial Guard if they don't make Elysian jump troops anymore. They'd be expensive jump troopers though. Alright, so we'll check here, see if that angle looks good. Turn it this way. And so that's something I like about plastic glue. It gives you a little bit more, it sticks, but it gives you a little bit of play in there still while it's setting to move it around if you want to do some minor adjustments. Alright, so let's start with the shoulder pads next. Alright, now that we got the shoulder pads on, we will start putting on, let me dry fit this. Now, watch where your finger placement is, don't start bumping stuff around just yet. Okay. Where did this little bugger go? That looks good. Okay. And don't put glue on and then start fiddling around like where you think it should go. That's why dry fitting is always a good idea. See, now if I was really worried about how this thing set, I'd actually probably take the time in between cleaning, and so like clean this bit and then assembled it, clean this and assembled it, and then start putting together so the glue has time to set. Alright, so let's check picture to see how it looks. Looks close enough. Alright, so while that's setting, let's put him face down so I don't bump the rocket motor. Let's pay attention to this base here. So we're going to go for this one there. So let's see where we want it. So if I put the rock there, oh I see, this has a little cant. So this piece of rock that he's landing on has a down angle side, so that's where his foot will rest. So if we put it right there, let's just do a fit. Because what I want to do is I want to keep as much of the model when you look down inside that circle. And the reason being is I've got to store these things in little travel cases for when I go to Nova Open tournaments. So that seems a good spot. Yeah, if you get too many bits like Eschers with like whips and stuff, you put them in like the foam and they'll start breaking off when you pull them in and out frequently. That's why you want them nice and tight. Alright, so since I'm going to take advantage of while it's still wet to see if that's where I want him. Right, that's where he'll fit. Right. So even with the rock in place, I still have a little bit of play about where I can sight the guy. So I want him in as much as that imaginary cylinder. Okay. There we go. Now we'll move back to it. Something I should point out, I didn't do 35 because 35 is for the guy with the drawn knife. Alright, they don't have a bit of a knife in the sheath to put on there. So if you put it on, it looks like he'll just lost his knife. I'm going for the double flamer guy. So I left 35 on the sprue. So let's go ahead and put on his other little needly thing. Glue right there. We know what's going on this hip. Not too high. Alright, that's in place. Now let's start putting on the arms. I'm careful about how I grab the model, so I make sure that all the pieces I just fit in aren't going to bump loose. Trying to find the right spot. Use this. Gotta let the model go to where it wants to be. Alright. So actually following my own advice, let me dry fit this one. Okay, cool. I guess I got that one right. Alright. So this one's actually coming together pretty fast. Base is still a little soft there. Alright. Now let's do his little noggin. We can go right there. Alright. I've got tiny little piano player fingers. Still, I have a hard time with some of these Necromunda models. Okay. Actually, the head with the bandana looks a lot better than I thought it would. Alright, there's our little wrecker. Came together pretty fast. It looks good. So, thank you for joining us at Miniature Wargaming Labs. And we'll see you next time.